That was Charles Barkley last week on LeBron James. Now LeBron's decided he's had enough with the Barkley jabs over the years, telling our Dave McMenamin this. He's a hater. What makes what he says credible? Because he's on TV, I'm not going to let him disrespect my legacy like that. I'm not the one who threw somebody through a window. I never spit on a kid. I never had unpaid debt in Las Vegas. I never said, quote, I'm not a role model. I never showed up to All-Star Weekend on Sunday because I was in Vegas all weekend partying. All I've done for my entire career is represent the NBA the right way. 14 years, never got in trouble, respected the game, print that. I collect one paycheck from this. There's the owner, grifts. The GM, I'm the player, screw Charles Barkley. We welcome Will Kane back to the desk. So obviously LeBron not holding back there. What's your reaction?
I just think it's weak. I think LeBron's reaction is weak. You know, it's interesting. No matter how much you compliment LeBron, no matter how much you recognize the obvious state of facts in the world that LeBron James is the greatest basketball player on the face of the planet, he somehow finds a way to be beneath that statement. You know, anytime I've ever criticized LeBron, it's only from the high perch that I place him on. If it's his grammar on Instagram, which I got criticism for, or his language from a victory podium, or in this moment right here, it's only because he is so great that when he falls short of being great, he's wide open to criticism. Let me tell you why this is so weak. First of all, Charles is right from start to finish, and I think almost everyone acknowledges that Charles's words on their face are correct, and they weren't an attack on LeBron at honestly a very deep level at all. He's got the highest payroll in the NBA. They're playing the most in luxury tax, and LeBron James still wants more and more and more. Charles is basically just being honest. And what is LeBron's response? What is his response? It's an ad hominem attack. The weakest form of attack. You know, if there's any theme today, as I've had conversations with you today, Max, if I've had conversations with you, Stephen A., it's this. Have the guts, have the wherewithal, have the spine to stand up and have a position independent of who you are. Don't go after Charles Barkley based upon totally unrelated incidences. It's called ad hominem. And the thing about an ad hominem attack, attacking a person like Charles that's totally off base from the argument at hand, it shows you don't have a leg to stand on. I guess LeBron doesn't have a rebuttal to Charles' they've given you everything they want, that you want. I guess LeBron doesn't have a rebuttal to Charles as you're being whiny. I guess he has no rebuttal on the substance. Instead, he's resorted to the tried and true clarion call. That's happening right now, by the way, on my Twitter. Clarion call of morons and, more than that, weak people who cannot form an idea that can withstand the slightest bit of rebuttal. Attack them as a person. Attack them for something unrelated. Good job, LeBron. You're just like every other internet troll on this.
Go ahead, Max.
As I said when we discussed this in the last hour, yes, it was an ad hominem attack on Charles Barkley. It's, you know, he murdered the messenger. He didn't like the message, so he went after the messenger. But I do think there's an added element here, guys, where there's something about the theater of sports, especially when you're the greatest in the world, that we believe, one of the reasons we're interested in it, I believe, is that we think it reveals character in the moment of truth. And so when you go after someone for their lack of competitiveness, as you see it, or their inability to come through in a big moment, not that that's what Barkley was doing here to LeBron, but he was kind of going after his spirit of competition, I can understand why someone would take that personally and then go after the critic rather than the criticism. But of course it is weak to go after the critic rather than the criticism, and it's a less than optimal response for LeBron. That said, I also think the big story here, the takeaway here is LeBron claps back, and his kind of assertion of dominance, whether or not it's ethically upright or morally upright, his kind of assertion of his own dominance, we saw it in the finals last year, the way he blocked Steph Curry's shot and screamed on him, and he's becoming something of a psychological bully, which actually on the basketball court, I think, helps him. I think it makes him a better player. But it is an ad hominem attack, clearly.
Let me chime in here. Will, let me explain something to you. You're right with what you're saying. LeBron is a bit too sensitive. I do believe, however, in this particular instance, when you parse the words that Barkley used, saying, quote unquote, he was pissed off because LeBron James doesn't want to compete. That was a bit excessive for a guy that's been to 6 consecutive NBA Finals and has won 3 NBA championships, especially coming from an individual in Charles Barkley, who is a friend who I love dearly, but pushed his way out of Philadelphia. He didn't want to be there any longer. Ended up in Phoenix, and then went to Houston, even though he was older by then and he was on the downside of his career. He tried to move himself into different situations that were more beneficial for him. So it does come across as a bit hypocritical for him to say that. And the words that he used definitely invited a response from LeBron. I believe that LeBron went too far, Will, in what he said about Barkley, because it wasn't about basketball. It was about Barkley the man, and he attacked him in a way that was excessive and was beyond the pale. And as far as I'm concerned, if Barkley wanted to retaliate, it's perfectly within his right to do so. But to really piggyback off of what you said and to touch on what both of your points are, let's keep in mind that LeBron James has been ultra sensitive. Now, he takes more criticism than most, in fairness to him. But he was a bit sensitive when he played like garbage in the fourth quarter of 4 consecutive NBA Finals games against the Dallas Mavericks. He took heat from that. He still has never gotten over that, still holds that to people, against people to this very day. Also, I would like to say that LeBron assists in inviting some of the criticism because he always takes the high road. It's very rare, if ever, that he responds. And so he gives the impression, if you're Barkley, that you can come at him. So it was really nice, even though we disagree with how far he went, it was really nice to see LeBron step up, man up, and take a public stance, as opposed to coming across, dare I say, as a bit too phony at times and a bit too PC, because he's so interested in his brand that he doesn't want to take on critics who criticize him when he is more than qualified and more than competent enough to respond to those criticisms. And it was nice to see him step up and do it.
And we love Barkley. I mean, Barkley's amazing because he gives you the straight dope. As I mentioned in the previous hour, whether or not you think he's a dope for some of the things he said, he gives you the straight dope. You know he's not going to hold back. He's not going to bite his tongue. He's not going to succumb to kind of social and political pressure about what he should say. And LeBron's not going to like it all the time. He did choke away 4 consecutive fourth quarters. He was a choker then. It was an historic choke. He also came up huge in these last finals and turned around his legacy in that respect. Those things are all true. Barkley should react, on the evidence, whatever comes up. Barkley should tell the truth. That's the choice. One real quick thing, Will.
Go ahead, Will.
One real quick thing. But LeBron James in his 14th season, Barkley joined the Rockets with Olajuwon and Drexler in his 13th season.
The thing about that,
chronologically older, but younger in his NBA
The thing
career.
about that, Max, is the choice that LeBron made was ultimately the weak choice, but we can all understand how he gets there. Max, I know you get stuff on a daily basis that attacks you as a person. I do, I can promise you. And Stephen A., I imagine you get more than any of us combined. But you make a choice constantly. How are you going to engage with this or not engage with it? And if it is, as you said, Stephen A., that Barkley overstepped his bounds, that the argument was easy for LeBron to debate, he should have just taken on those merits, because if it's an easy one to win, you don't have to attack the person. But apparently, LeBron didn't think he could win the argument.
There. No, we agree there.
And by the way, Will, you can make the right choice.
LeBron clearly went too far, no doubt.
You can make the right choice on your timeline for 5, 10 straight years and not respond to any of the morons. And then one day, one of the morons says something stupid, and you write, moron, and then you're in the wrong, right? Even though a million times you didn't do that.
Max, I'm about to do it 100 times. The minute I walk off this set, I'm going to do it like 100 times.
Both of you put your, everybody
LeBron
put your phone down.
has bitten his tongue this whole time.
You know what Herm Edwards says, don't
Max,
click send.
Can I say this real quick?
Yes.
Max, you know I respect you, right? Seriously.
Yes, of course.
We disagree with you. We disagree with each other on a lot. And Stephen A., this goes without saying. But I think you're an incredibly smart guy who's often wrong.
Likewise.
See, it's business. It's not personal. But LeBron made it personal, and we
You're entitled to your opinion.
We wait for the clapback. But this just in, guys. League sources told ESPN that the Cavaliers are hosting a free agent workout session Wednesday. Veteran point guards Mario Chalmers, Kirk Heinrich, along with shooting guard Lance Stevenson, are scheduled to work out for the Cleveland Cavaliers in hopes of inking a deal. Coming up next, you just saw him, Rex Ryan was relieved from his head coaching duties earlier this season, and now he's saying some wild stuff about the Bills and if he'd be willing to take a